Have you ever wondered why traditional education, when they teach black history, only goes as far back as slavery? I mean, really, think about that. Do you honestly believe you had no history prior to the transatlantic slave trade or human trafficking? We can no longer allow other people to define our history and assign us our identity. Excuse me. This is why the majority of us don't have a clue as to who we are and where we came from. But in sincerity, there's actually a valid reason for it. And the reason is actually biblical. You see, the Bible explains how the other nations of the world will conspire to remove Israel from the memory of the true Hebrew people. It's in the Bible. Psalm 83, 1 and 4. And you've been reading that verse forever, but just couldn't hear it. And that's also in the Bible. That this knowledge would be sealed until the end times. In Daniel 12 and 4, the Most High tells Daniel to conceal these words and seal up the book. What book? The scriptures, until the end times, when knowledge will increase. It's right there. Do you think in Daniel's day they could see the World Wide Web coming? Of course not. This was prophecy. Information has never increased like this since the flood. There's no reason to not know unless you just don't want to know. And when you peruse the pages of scripture, you come across Deuteronomy 28, 45 and 46. Now that very last paragraph is very important. It explains that the Most High's curses will follow you, and they shall become a sign and a wonder on you and your descendants forever. In the Strong's Concordance, the word wonder means conspicuousness. And what does conspicuous mean? According to Oxford, it means to stand out. So these curses are going to stand out, be clearly visible. What I'm trying to say is, When we examine the curses, they will inform us who the true Hebrews are. Now, this isn't me talking. You read it in the Bible. You saw it yourself. The Most High said his curses would be a sign, clearly visible, to allow us to ascertain who the true Hebrews are. Because he knew, according to Psalm 83, 1 through 4, that the other nations were planning to remove Israel from the memory of the original Hebrew people. And it worked. And what nations were involved in this biblical conspiracy? You got Portugal, the UK, France, the Netherlands, Spain, the US, Denmark, and more. So there was a collusion. There was a conspiracy. Excuse me, I was drinking water. So what we need to do, and I mean this for all peoples, all nations, and all creeds, we need to investigate the curses and see who fits the criteria. We're not going to cherry pick. We're going to look at the curses that were placed on groups, nations, or countries. Not curses placed on individuals. Now, before we begin, I feel the need to discuss the curse of Ham. Firstly, there was never a curse placed on Ham. Secondly, the curse placed on Canaan was before the idea of a Hebrew even existed. Thirdly, there are those who suggest black skin was a curse, which is ludicrous. Nowhere in Scripture has the Most High ever cursed skin black. Every time the Most High placed a skin curse on someone, it would always be the opposite of black. For example, in 2 Kings 5 and 27, we see Elisha curse Gehazi. In Leviticus 14 and 34, we see an entire house of Canaan cursed. There was never a curse to turn someone black. As a matter of fact, melanin, the pigment that gives skin its hue, should be considered a gift. And contrary to popular opinion, all people have melanin. There's just different types and amounts that give us our color. But black being a curse is counterproductive if you're trying to punish someone. And this isn't a superiority statement. It's just the truth. Doesn't mean I'm anti anyone. And I'm not making any more statements to try and prove I'm not racist. Because I'm not. I'll just let the truth stand on its own. Do the research. Now, let's look at these generational curses. These would be the curses on the Hebrew people. And Deuteronomy is full of curses. But I want to start at 28 and 30. Now, as an individual, we could say this curse could be on anybody. But when we realize this curse was placed on a people, it becomes more clear. Because all of these things took place during slavery. All of them. Yet, someone could make the argument that this happened in all slavery. But let's continue. Deuteronomy 28 and 32 states that your sons and daughters will be taken from you and sold to strangers. Who does that fit as a people? Look at Isaiah 42 and 22. Do I have to remind you who's filling up the prison houses? When we look at Luke 21 and 24, we see even more clues. And if you don't know, these are the Gentile nations. Europe. The same nations that conspired to cause the Hebrews to forget their identity are the same nations talked about in Luke 21 and 24. And here you can see in stone the Roman soldiers carrying away treasures from the Hebrew temple in 70 AD. The Romans are considered Gentiles. Now remember, these curses are a sign to show who the true Hebrews are. Don't forget that. Look at Isaiah 3 and 12. The Most High says, as for my people, he says, his people, their children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. Who is the Most High talking about? His people, the Hebrew people. Their children are their oppressors. No other people are more terrorized by their children than us. They've been cursed with gangs, drugs, guns, and more times than not, their violence is aimed at people that look just like them. And every man knows this society has worked diligently to place the woman in the role as head of the household. She's employed at a higher rate than the black man, and in turn earns more collectively. Now, this is not a knock to her hustle, just to point out how it fits the curse. Isaiah 51 and 20 says, your sons have fainted. They lay at the head of all the streets. That means on the corner. The head of a street is the corner. And the word faint, according to Strong's Concordance, means languid or slow moving, or what we call chilling. And as a wild bull, that's self-explanatory. We don't have to get too deep into that. In Joel 3 and 3, this prophecy is understood or realized when we see Europeans trading guns, whiskey, and sometimes even white women to African chiefs who traded slaves. Remember, these curses have to match a certain people for us to come to any conclusion. So you need to look around and see who they fit. Deuteronomy 28 and 64 is another big clue. When the Most High says he will scatter his people among all the peoples, and they will worship other gods. Gods of wood and stone. And here we are worshiping Esau, Edom's wood and Ishmael's stone. There's only one group of people on this entire earth who have been scattered to all corners of the world and have no idea where they are from. No other group of people, none, can claim that. Look, I promise, if you earnestly and with a pure heart research the scriptures, these truths will jump off the page. I'm not here to denigrate anyone or take away a heritage. I believed and prayed when I thought his name was Jesus and he was blonde-haired and blue-eyed. I didn't have a problem with it then. So this isn't about being better than anyone. In fact, just the opposite. We're in the position we're in today because we refused to be the example to the world the Most High wanted us to be. Moses speaks about the Hebrews being a stiff-necked people. So this isn't about exclusion or superiority. This is about truth. The knowledge that's being made known during the last days. I'm not saying the last days are close, because our concept of time has nothing to do with the Most High. He's outside of time. But I do know this. The information is now available, which signifies the last days. So, if you're not seeking truth, that's your business. But I'll tell you this. We as a people suffer for lack of knowledge because we won't read. And you need to remember this. We are those children. speaking the truth in love. Peace.